a quick question. As far as, legacy of Steph Curry and things like that, because we can't help but talk about it after he's dropping 50, most in a game 7. We don't talk about Curry as being one of the greatest basketball players of all time. At least I don't hear that very much from like NBA circles. If he wins a championship and gets up to 5, when can we change that narrative to where we can legitimately talk about him as being one of the greats with Kobe, LeBron, even Jordan?
Gosh. I mean, I think you have to, right?
I don't think he has to win the championship. You can do it right now.
Not even this year.
Right now. What's the argument against it? Best shooter of all time. Well, yeah. I mean, he's the best shooter of all time. And he has the titles. He has MVPs. Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we talk about him in that manner with the other all-time greats?
I think because
his size, where he went to school, the lack of hype. I mean, with LeBron, it was like people were hyping him up when he was still in high school, and it was kind of like Steph didn't have that. He had maybe a late bloomer, had some injuries at the beginning of his career. But yeah, he deserves to be there. I'm with you. That's a great point. And he's 35 years old right now, too. I don't know how much longer he can keep this up, but gosh, it would be so cool if they win another championship, especially when so many analysts, counted them out this year.
The last time you were on the program, we were talking about you venturing out to Yankee Stadium in your Toronto Blue Jays jersey, which led to a little bit of conversation as far as how much grief you were going to get at the ballpark. And understandably so, it was going to be a significant amount. And you said you're going to fight through it. You're going to be out there and it's going to be wonderful. And then we asked for a video of you out there to see, if, say, you had beer on you or some punches were thrown, maybe some bruising around the face, something like that. And you look squeaky clean. Toronto won. It was great. But unfortunately, we noticed that you were wearing a jacket the whole time to where no one knew you were actually a Blue Jays fan until the game was over and everybody left. So would you like to apologize for us for taking us down the wrong path?
No, I'm not apologizing. It was very clear that I was cheering for the Blue Jays. I was standing up. I was yelling every time the Blue Jays did something good, and I wasn't wearing the jacket for the full game. There was a couple times that I took it off, but it was cold.
Liar!
I had to wear a
Liar!
jacket.
So weak. Pathetic.
I would have froze to death.
Pathetic display. This is outrageous. This is outrageous.
It's soft.
The man that is out there fighting with a Chelsea Messenger on Twitter day after day, like, yeah, I'm going into Yankee Stadium. I don't care about those bums. I'm going to wear my Jays gear. And you can't tell me that you don't have you have some form of a Jays hoodie or jacket, right?
No, I just had a Jays jersey. I did end up buying a Jays hat at the MLB store in New York because I went back on Sunday. Sunday was hot enough I did not wear a jacket. So not only did I do it once, I did it twice that weekend.
Was it too hot to wear the hat too?
I wore the hat on Sunday.
Okay.
I did not hide the hat. I think the key is that as long as you're not out in outfield amongst the bleacher creatures, I think it's relatively safe. Also, the Blue Jays do kind of travel well because literally every single Canadian is a Blue Jays fan since we only have one team. So there's a good amount of Blue Jays fans. I had some backup there at both games. So, yeah, I stayed safe.
One thing I want to talk about real fast is offensive and defensive rookie of the year. If you're going to bet on these futures now, here are a couple things to keep in mind here going forward. So one of the things that I did was I looked at all of the offensive and defensive rookies of the year since 1967, and I looked at what round they were drafted in just to see if that can provide a little bit of insight as far as if there's any information we have right now, what can we use going forward? And if you look at offensive rookie of the year, 73% of them went in the first round. 73%.
Wow.
Another 12.5% went in the second round. And so if you're looking for an offensive rookie to hang your hat on right now, more than 85% of them went in the first two rounds. So you start there. Now, there may be some guys who, shoot up and become real contenders late in those latter rounds, but the place to start is the first and second round, and probably earlier in the first round. Definitely is the case when you're talking about the defensive rookie of the year. 82% of defensive rookies of the year were drafted in the first round, and a lot of them were chosen early in the draft. Think top 10, maybe even top 5. That matters a great deal, Joe, when we're talking about, say, Will Anderson, Tyree Wilson, the guys, the edges in particular, who are getting a lot of attention, getting a lot of respect, maybe even to a lesser extent, Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle out of Georgia. These are the guys you probably want to start with in terms of finding value.
The one team that I picked for all 3 spots, the website says it's a 7-game week. It is an 8-game week. They have not adjusted yet for the doubleheader today that we have between the Atlanta Braves, New York Mets. It is an 8-game week for the New York Mets. I've contacted support, and I'm expecting it to be an 8-game, even though right now it says 7 games. It is the doubleheader today for the Mets against the Braves. And then it's 3 at Detroit, 3 at home against Colorado. So the Mets are the team that I picked for all 3 spots.
If it's an 8-game week, then I like the process there. And if you have to get through a double pick and the second one is really hard to figure out, then I don't hate that process at all. At some point, you got to take them, and you want to take them, in an advantageous spot, and this certainly seems like one. I think the doubleheader helps you a lot here. If it were just a 7-game week, I would not be, going all in on, but that's the deal. And that leads me to the first game that I want to talk about, Braves at Mets, Spencer Strider on the bump for Atlanta. And there are a couple of interesting props here that I want to go over. So Strider's strikeout prop is 8.5, juice to the under at -145. The outs for Strider is at 17.5. The over is -200. And even though it's -200, I would make a case for the over here because the strikeout number really worries me. Because if you look at the Mets strikeout rate just as a team, they're at 20.2%. It's third best or third lowest in Major League Baseball. The Nationals at the lowest strikeout rate, and then the Guardians at 19.6%. So Strider, despite having incredible stuff, probably not striking out the Mets too often. But this does feel like a chance for him to get deep into this ball game, in large part because that's what he does. And even if he struggles a little bit, I still think he stays out there and kind of cleans up his own mess. I think the over-outs number is at least worth some consideration.